Everything that's damned them all year, all at once, to be totally honest. I like the offense herky-jerky. Mahomes had to lead them in rushing. They're 0-4 in those games, by the way, where he leads them in rushing. Patrick, I think, felt that he had to activate hero mode maybe earlier than he needed to. That 3rd and 6 that we almost missed because we were in commercial, and then they go to the snap. It was a very emotionally wrecking 8 seconds, and NBC does a great job, but that was not great, where it's like we're in commercial, big play coming up, but they got back late, and the snap was off, and then there was a pick, and I didn't even know what happened. Missed bad special teams, which had been the opposite, had been a trademark of this Chiefs run. That Butker field goal changes everything.
It does.
They certainly don't then go for what was. Listen, Andy Reid's one of the greatest coaches ever, has an argument that he's the 2nd greatest coach in the history of the sport. His biggest game management criticism has been being too conservative in the past. That was a wildly reckless 4th down decision. That certainly if they're up 13-10, they don't go for. But at 10, that is a play you go for if it's 28-28 against the Bills. Up and down. That play would have made sense in the Cincinnati-Buffalo game earlier that day, where it's like, man, nobody's stopping anybody.
Right.
And so that happened. I mean, this is how you get to 6 and 7. And I don't even know if I mentioned it. They now have retaken their place atop the league after a 1-year absence in drops. And it felt like they were all heartbreaking. Kelsey's ended the game with a pick. Kareem Hunt's, I think cost us a touchdown on the 3rd down, 2 4th down drops, 1 really bad one. And so that's like, none of it. Trust me, America, I'm devastated. But I also am honest. None of it should have been shocking, because they have made mistakes like this all year. And the same thing, Brew, that made me and still makes me feel like last year's team, Super Bowl notwithstanding, that was a great football team. That was a great team because the only thing that matters for a team is winning. And they understood how to win and how not to lose. This team, through 13 games, creates a different set of circumstances that allow losses to happen, and then they allow them to happen. That's what happened yesterday, and that's what's happened this season.
Let's address the primary issue head-on, the narrative surrounding the Kansas City Chiefs and dropped passes. This entire line of reasoning has reached a level of absurdity that defies logical analysis. Examine the actual data. The league leaders in total drops this season are Trevor Lawrence with 33 and Bo Nix with 32. Following them are Dak Prescott with 24, Joe Flacco with 22, and yes, Patrick Mahomes also with 22. To isolate Mahomes' situation as uniquely catastrophic is, therefore, a complete misrepresentation of the facts. The sudden, exclusive focus on this issue for Kansas City reeks of selective justification. A more precise metric is drop percentage, the proportion of catchable targets that are not secured. In this category, J.J. McCarthy leads at a staggering 12.8%, followed by Trevor Lawrence at 11.5%, Jaden Daniels at 10.9%, and Bo Nix at 9.7%. Patrick Mahomes' drop percentage is 6.9%, which ranks him 14th in the NFL. This places him below quarterbacks like Caleb Williams, and notably Joe Burrow, whose receivers are dropping a higher percentage of passes, 7.9%, than Mahomes' are. This statistical reality completely dismantles the premise that Kansas City's pass-catching woes are a historical anomaly, or the primary explanatory factor for their struggles. This is a pattern I have highlighted incessantly. Recall the 2023 season. The chorus about Chiefs receivers was deafening. Yet the final drop counts were Matthew Stafford, 29, Dak Prescott, 29, Patrick Mahomes, 29, Jared Goff, 29, and Josh Allen, 28. They were all within a single drop of each other. Furthermore, in the subsequent playoffs, Josh Allen's Buffalo Bills suffered the same number of drops in half the number of games, meaning his supporting cast was failing him at twice the rate during the most critical moments. Where was the equivalent narrative shield for Allen then? The hypocrisy becomes glaring when we assess performance under similar constraints. The commentary following Mahomes' recent game suggested he felt compelled to go into superhero mode earlier than expected. What did that mode actually produce? The final stat line reads 14 for 33, 160 yards, 4.8 yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a 19.7 QBR, and a 19.8 passer rating. Even these dismal numbers are inflated by inconsequential completions at the game's end when the Houston Texans were in a prevent defense, content to let the clock expire. A more honest accounting of the competitive portion of the game reveals a performance of 12 for 30, 131 yards, 4.4 yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating hovering around 14. This is a critical reminder of how endgame stat padding can obscure true performance, a phenomenon we witnessed in last year's Super Bowl as well. Now let's apply the consistent standard being demanded for Mahomes to other quarterbacks who face this same Texans defense, a unit not facing an elite offensive line every week. Mac Jones managed 19 for 32, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, an 84.5 passer rating, and a 77.2 QBR, leading to 15 points. Sam Darnold produced 17 for 31, 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, a 73.7 rating, and a 43.6 QBR. Bo Nix, often dismissed, went 18 for 37, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, a 68.9 rating, and a 57.9 QBR, scoring 18 points. Each of these quarterbacks, with arguably inferior overall support, outperformed Patrick Mahomes' statistical output against Houston. The most telling comparison is to Josh Allen's much-maligned performance against the New York Jets earlier this season, which was ruthlessly mocked. His line was 24 for 34, 253 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, took 8 sacks, with a 27.8 QBR and a 67.4 passer rating. By any measure, this was a superior performance to Mahomes' showing against the Texans. Contextualize this further. Josh Allen was pressured 20 times in that game, compared to Mahomes' 21 against Houston. However, Allen's average time to throw was a minuscule 2.75 seconds, indicating immediate pressure and a collapsing pocket. Mahomes' average time was 3.31 seconds. While time to throw can be inflated by a quarterback scrambling to extend plays, the game film did not show Mahomes in a perpetual, improvisational scramble like a Lamar Jackson. This suggests he had more opportunity to operate from a functional pocket than Allen did, yet the results were catastrophically worse. This sudden embrace of context, drops, offensive line play, coaching decisions, is remarkably convenient. Where was this nuanced allowance when evaluating Justin Herbert all season long, as his offensive line was dismantled by injuries? Where was it when Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen faced playoff defeats? No one was accepting drops as an acceptable conclusion for the Baltimore Ravens against Buffalo, or when a potential game-winning pass from Allen hit a receiver's hands and fell to the turf in the 2023 playoffs. The narrative then was singular. Josh Allen is not good enough. Patrick Mahomes outplays Josh Allen every time. Special teams miscues, like a missed field goal, were not woven into a grand tapestry of excuse for Allen. They were simply the backdrop for his failure. The same selective memory applies to coaching. Suddenly, the strategic decisions of Andy Reid are part of the discussion, but the chronic late-game management issues of a Sean McDermott or John Harbaugh are not granted the same exculpatory power. Let's discuss the interceptions themselves. 2 of the 3 were unequivocally on Mahomes. The first, a forced throw into tight, sticky coverage against an elite defense, is a decision a veteran of his caliber should avoid. The second, disparagingly called a punt by some, was not a harmless 50-50 ball. It was an inaccurate, ill-advised deep shot that had almost no chance of success, which is why Mahomes reacted with such visible fury. The potential interception targeting Travis Kelce also featured poor ball placement, with the pass leading the receiver away from his momentum. To attribute all fault on that play solely to the receiver is disingenuous. Mahomes was inaccurate throughout the game. Were there drops? Unquestionably. But the opposing quarterback, C.J. Stroud, also dealt with drops and operates behind one of the league's worst offensive lines. Yet Stroud made superior throws on the move and executed better in critical moments. He simply outplayed Patrick Mahomes. This leads to the fundamental, uncomfortable question. How much assistance does the quarterback touted by many as the greatest ever require? For years, the dominant narrative was that Patrick Mahomes carried these Chiefs teams. Now, when the elite defense that has characterized the team since 2022, a fact highlighted by analysts like Wright, who noted their top-tier efficiency on third downs, has regressed, and the team is struggling to even secure a playoff berth, the conversation pivots to every external factor imaginable. Under the very logic that was applied to critique others for years, where team context was dismissed and quarterback play was the ultimate determinant, one could argue that Trevor Lawrence, who has more drops, a worse offensive line, and a worse defense, but whose team is winning its division, is currently performing better. I am not making that argument, but I am applying the previously established, unforgiving standard. The hypocrisy is crystallized in the treatment of Joe Burrow last season. Playing behind a far worse offensive line, statistically over 10% less effective than what Mahomes has now, and with a historically bad defense, Burrow posted numbers that rivaled or surpassed Mahomes' peak production with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. The consensus then was not understanding. It was that Burrow is the problem. Now for Mahomes, we are asked to consider drops, the line, the play calling, and the defense. The standard cannot perpetually shift based on the jersey number. You cannot spend an entire season mocking Justin Herbert for his circumstances and questioning his numbers, then turn around and construct a fortress of context for Patrick Mahomes when he underperforms. It is intellectually bankrupt. Either we evaluate quarterbacks with a consistent acknowledgement of their supporting environment, or we hold them all to the same stark, results-oriented standard. The current selective application of nuance is not analysis. It is apologetics. These are my comprehensive thoughts on the matter. I am keen to hear your perspective. What is your assessment of the evolving excuses and justifications for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs' current season? Do you believe the standard of evaluation has shifted? And if so, is it justified? Please share your opinions in the comments below. I read every single comment. Whether you agree or disagree, let's engage in a substantive, if spirited, discussion. Ultimately, let's enjoy the debate that makes football fandom compelling. If you appreciate this style of direct, consistent analysis, please consider subscribing. We are building a vibrant community here dedicated to authentic football discourse, and I would be thrilled to have you join. Don't forget to like this video, as it significantly helps with visibility and allows these conversations to reach a wider audience. Thank you for your time and engagement.